Business Mind. Welcome to Shark Bait.
Hi, Mark here. Yeah, from Shark Bait, of course. Where else would I be? Yeah, it's Sunday, July 5th. Happy birthday, yeah, America. Yeah, at least as far as declaring our independence. Yeah, interesting 4th of July. This is not your typical product video, although I do have one new product I'll talk about. Really, this video is probably of little to no consequence for a lot of folks. It has nothing to do with product other than the little thing I'll show you. But it has to do with operating a small business in these very, very unusual times. First, I'll show you the little product. This is a new Plano box that we're carrying. It's a harder material than the typical Plano box. It's a different material, different type of latching system. And frankly, I bought these guys just for myself because I got tired of the old Plano boxes and I wanted something better. And that's what these things are. And basically they're sealed with a grommet all the way through it. They come with this little device here, which is anti-corrosion material. I'm not sure if it's absorbing moisture or what the hell it's doing, but I saw these doggone things. I like the way the dividers work. I like the rigidity of the box as well. And I like the way it seals and encloses everything. Pretty trick. It's kind of goofy to think about doing a little video on these boxes, but we're stocking a lot more of these Plano boxes lately here at the shop because they've got different configurations, and they're pretty cool. But excellent little piece. But that's not the reason I'm here. And I'm going to try and do this in a way that's, I don't expose my redneck, and I don't piss people off by going political. And I'll try not to do that to the best of my ability, but it's not an easy thing to do these days. Everything is very political. Everything. And it's strange. So I want to kind of explain what happens with a small business. We get tugged and pulled in lots of different directions. We're located in California. And we serve people all over the United States, and we ship beyond that. And it's an interesting situation. We hear on the news that California is not a pro-business state, compared to others. I've been a retailer here in California for 20 years. I was born here. I did not live my whole life in California. I had the good fortune of living in Texas for a number of years. Enjoyed that time quite a bit. Every place has its benefits and its negatives. And California is blessed in so many ways. But it's been an unusual state here for probably 20 plus years, politically. As a small business, the beauty of the internet when I started was that it was an even playing field. All of us were the same. I used to tell people, I'm as big as Bass Pro Shops when it comes to the internet 20 some odd years ago, because they had no position and I did. I was the first guy online. And in those days, it was wide open. Everybody was starting from the same position. A little extra work, a little extra creativity and learning curves could make all the difference. And so I was competing with people or companies that were huge by comparison, and I was a little guy starting up out of my condo initially, then out of a little warehouse, and then out of a little store, adding staff as I could afford, and made a couple of good hires over the years. And we survived and we grew because we had the opportunity. Competitive marketplace, hard work, and being lucky, being smart, at least whatever I could work with, or benefiting from others, could make all the difference in the world. And that's what happened. We grew, we developed, we were able to employ more people. And then we started seeing more and more problems that cropped up primarily from a policy standpoint in the government. There was a video I did a few years ago that I never published, because I was going through all these negatives out there. The effect of increase in the minimum wage, what that would do to businesses, that have a retail base. And I decided to keep my trap shut and just go ahead and react to the policy shifts, and make my business insulated from the negatives of those moves. And I did that. We reduced expenses. We reduced operating hours. And these are all natural consequences of a state increasing the minimum wage beyond what may be sustainable to pay people and have them on staff. And anybody who took any economics, first year economics course in college, knows when you increase that price of labor, you see consequences. Nothing happens in a vacuum. We see that at stores, automatic teller machines or automatic machines, cash register machines, where one person can supervise for 6 different machines instead of individuals earning a paycheck, even though it's a lower paycheck, but they've got a job. We can't do much about escalating prices for housing. That's a consequence of our own government and the Fed, basically, and the central bank, the way this system works. What we've seen from 2000 on in America, and we could probably go back a little before that, was that those things that were financed through banks, like houses, prices increased, doubled and tripled, where wages stayed effectively the same, over a 20-year period. That doesn't work for people. It may work for the banks and the folks that are collecting interest on these notes and playing games with the money supply. But ultimately, people, normal middle-class people are the ones that have suffered from this. Now, that's a bigger picture, and maybe that's something that is being looked at, and maybe that's in the grand game plan of Mr. Trump. There are certainly those that think so. And I'm not here to espouse different conspiracy theories, because what is a conspiracy theory? Just something that hasn't necessarily been proven yet? I don't know. In any event, let's talk about what I do know. Back in March, Governor Gavin Newsom, California governor, said that we have to flatten the curve of this virus. And if we don't do so, 56% of Californians will have the virus within 3 weeks. That is what the guy stated, and that was the reason for a business shutdown that was supposed to last just long enough to allow those hospitals to ramp things up so that they wouldn't be overwhelmed with people checking into the hospitals over the Wuhan virus. And I will continue calling it the Wuhan virus, not a COVID, none of this, none of that, because it originated from Wuhan, China. For whatever circumstances, whether that was something that was created within the lab or was in the wet market, either way, that's where it came from, and that's the name of the damn thing. Okay, so let's roll back March. Businesses were told to shut down. Okay, it's the first time we've shut down an economy based upon a virus. It better be bloody serious to justify that sort of disruption of people's lifestyles, and livelihoods. Well, after 3 weeks, businesses weren't coming back. They were still told to close. Well, it sounds to me like false advertising. I went down this path before during Mr. Obama's time. Everybody can afford the health care. You can keep your health care. You're not going to lose it. Poppycock. We lost what we had, and we wound up paying 3 times the money for it. Instead of it being $600 a month for my family, it turned into $1,500-$1,600 a month for my family for the cheapest program. Not to say Mr. Obama was a liar, but he was a liar. I guess I did say it. And I'm not trying to be political, and I really don't want to lose customers as a consequence. But let's come back to what's happening here with businesses. By shutting retailers down, shutting down restaurants, shutting down gyms, people's pockets are only so deep and they can't sustain that sort of loss in a business survive. In our little shopping center here, We had 2 gyms, and we had 2 restaurants, a pizza place, and a liquor store. Everything was a nail parlor and a ladies' hair salon. All these places were supposed to shut down except for the one essential business here, which was the liquor store. Okay, I guess liquor is an essential industry. In the case of my retail store, after about 3 weeks' time, I received a contact from a customer who the State Department of Fish and Game referred to come to us to get a commercial license or renew his commercial license. We're one of the few tackle stores that sell the commercial as well as the consumer type licenses. Okay, that told me that at least as far as the state of California is concerned, I'm acting as a state agent for an essential industry, food, fishing. So I opened my store back up and I threw away the mask. And I will say the mask is something, again, we hear about. Initially, it doesn't do a blessed thing. And then later, oh yes, you should be wearing a mask in case you spit at somebody else, but you maintain social distancing, stay 6 feet away from people. There's not a problem. Or wear a mask. Oh, I see people driving down a car by themselves wearing a mask. People have been made to be doggone afraid of something that has a mortality rate that's the same as flu. We're talking well less than 1% of the population. We've gone through situations like this before without shutting down an economy. And generally, the people that are sick are the ones that should be quarantined, to protect society, not those who are healthy. So that seemed odd. And then closing down businesses. What type of businesses closed? The things that affected most Americans the most. Your basic, independent, mom and pa type of businesses and restaurants, these type of dreams. Those were shut down in favor of other operations. What do I mean by that? Amazon's supposed to stay open, of course. Target stays open. Walmart stays open. All these big corporations that politicians can own stock in or receive benefit from. But us small guys are supposed to shut the business. It's unsustainable. Now, Sharkbait is very fortunate. I was the first guy online, and so we were able to keep product going, and a lot of our clients, God bless them, were trying to look out for us and giving us some extra help, extra business, and it's much appreciated. We didn't cut employees during this time. We had one natural reduction of staff. Betta, who'd been here for about 10 years, pulled the plug and moved to Costa Rica. He is now an official expat. Maybe that was a good call. He certainly is in a position of doing some wonderful fishing. It's a beautiful area, and it's always good having friends in high places. No, in good fishing places. So look forward to maybe taking a trip down there one of these years. But that left us with the regular crew here, and we were able to keep guys rolling, and our staff was wonderful. They didn't want to waste time, so when there was stuff to do, they did it. And it wasn't, they went ahead and went back home and did whatever. We are primarily family here, so of course the wife and son were working their tails off during that period of time. And we, as I mentioned, we did reopen the store, based upon my evaluation of us being an essential industry, since we served the commercial market as well as consumer market. But I can't help but feel for those people, those other retailers that would be quote unquote competitors that were stuck. And then we get into geographical areas. So let me mention first, we have an unfair playing field that says the Walmarts and the Targets can stay open, but other merchandise stores have to close, even though they sell the same things. In our shopping center, 2 restaurants have been closed now for almost 3 months. The gym has lost their business. It's been sold. Whoever bought it, I hope they have deep pockets, because no telling when that place will be open again. The other one, of course, is no more. Ladies' hair place is not reopened. My wife is complaining she can't get her hair done. The nail place only started to kind of ease back into things last week. And again, we're talking almost 3 months that these businesses were supposed to be shut down. Not right. not right. That is certainly tipping what should be equal scales, equal opportunity, is tipping it towards one side or the other. And it just so happens that that one side it's tipping it to are big companies with wonderful stock programs, and who knows who's getting patted on the back and getting their back pocket stuffed with cash over this deal. A lot of talk, but it does make a person wonder a little bit what's right and what's wrong. When this whole shutdown started, Steve Mnuchin and Donald Trump presented some options or some assistance to smaller businesses. One of those was a payroll protection program. And the way that program worked basically is they would look at what we had for payroll for the 2 preceding quarters, and then based upon that, a loan would be given, and that loan would be forgivable, so free money, if 75%, and now they've reduced it to 60, but 75%, if that was still going back to the employees. The idea was this retains your employees. Well, again, we were in a fortunate position because we also had the internet side of the business, but our employees certainly lost hours during this period of time, until we made that decision to reopen the store. This is the first time the government has actually done something to help my business. We never got a loan, a small business loan. We never got anything from anybody. My business was started by me cashing in an IRA and ramping up credit card debt. I was a normal old working slob with a day job, and saw an opportunity and ran with it, and then risked a lot to do it. But I was only worried about myself at that time. I didn't have a family. That came later, and so those concerns added later on. But the government did help, and those funds, as a percentage, absolutely, we will have that loan forgiven, and that allowed us to pay our vendors, because certainly people come first, and my vendors will come second on that any day of the week. So we were able to maintain employee wages and increase them, and actually help with a little bit of extra kicker, to folks. And because of that loan program, we were fortunate that we were able to feed our vendors too, because they're small businesses and they depend upon being paid. It's only fair. So that's number one. Number two thing, for areas that were impacted, like California was, there was a small business administration disaster loan, that you could put in for. I did that too, because we were in fact closed down. And after several months, that loan was approved and the money was in the bank. And then Small Business Administration also offered additional help. I tell you, it's the first time in my life I have seen help coming from the government for me and my little business. And I will absolutely thank Steve Mnuchin and Donald Trump for looking out for the interest of a small business owner. Because everything else that was coming would be things that you put you out of business. Now, we had done some smart things, and we reduced our cost and we improved our inventory position by moving a year ago to close down my San Diego store. That helped. The extra employees in that store no longer on the payroll. That helped. It made us more efficient, made us stronger, made us tighter, and kind of brought us back to where we were in 2008, 2007, as far as the bottom line that we need to maintain and still pay the bills, and pay our people. It put us in a very healthy position from an inventory standpoint. So we went into this virus situation far healthier than we would have been the year before. If it had been the year before and this happened, I likely would have been hard pressed to stay in business. But we were in a beautiful position to deal with uncertainty and a squirrely market. And so we thrived through that period thanks to our clients. Big help. And a big help from the government, that helped us and helped the people that support us, the manufacturers that support us. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing to see. And then the other consequences of actions. State of California shuts down, and what happens? People aren't working. People are bleeding, that have a business, and a lot of people, good people, have been laid off. So what do you expect to see when something like that happens in an economy? Expect to see more theft, more problems. And we did. We had a break-in about a month ago. And the people that broke in, it sounds like, from what I am hearing, 12 stores had been burglarized just in Southern California over the course of the past year. So I can't put that on the virus, but I can say we got hit. And they hit us pretty good. They hit us pretty good. From that, last week, I can say Nationwide is on our side. Our insurance was handled through Nationwide, and we provided the documentation, invoices, that sort of thing. Of course, we never account for everything that's stolen because you don't know everything that's stolen, quite honestly. We gave them a conservative estimate that's easy to prove, and they were able to clear that and get a check issued to us within a couple of weeks' time. It doesn't get any better than that. It's the first insurance claim I've ever done. But, the consequence of that is I got to spend a couple of nights in here with a gun in my lap and the back door wide open, just in case somebody would come back, which of course they wouldn't, but the place was unsecure. So I got to break out my gun. I haven't had that thing out of its case probably for almost 20 years since I moved from Texas. What's the point of having a gun in California? There wasn't much, but there is now, sadly. Now, the other thing we saw last week, haven't seen this happen in our shop for probably 15 years, where somebody came in, looked shady. We had a lot of people in the store, a lot of people optimistic about going fishing, and the guy did a grab and go, well planned, and had the car waiting outside, and he got away, well, for the time being. But after the first break-in, obviously, we've got a hell of a lot more cameras in here and a lot more security. But nonetheless, he was able to sneak away. But we were able to provide the police department with a series of images. I might even stick up a couple here. But of course, the guy who did this is wearing a hat, has a stinking face mask on, and has his eyeglasses on, shades on. The stinking masks are great if you want to commit a crime. It's just a wonderful thing. Forget about descriptions. But do they do, aside from retaining anonymity, does the mask do anything else? We were initially told they didn't do a blessed thing. We've also been told that the masks that are available, a cloth mask, is less than useful. It reduces your oxygen supply, increases carbon dioxide. That's not good for a person's brain or health. And it's not going to do a blessed thing about a virus. It's great for bacteria, but it's not really going to help a virus. Yes, it might help you spit. But then again, staying social distancing rules, 6 feet away, does that too. So there's not a whole lot of logic in wearing a mask in my estimation, other than showing that a person believes what they're being told on TV, that this virus is terrible. Again, look at the mortality rate. I'll go further. The statistics are all up on the internet. You can see all this stuff. You can see what happened to influenza deaths, pneumonia deaths during the same period that we're seeing an increase in COVID deaths. I'll also say if a hospital reports a death because of the Wuhan virus, COVID, that they get, was it 3 times the money, over 30 grand? For taking care of those patients, even though maybe they didn't take care of them, and then just, okay, well, he tested positive. Stick that in there. The guy died of auto accident, tested positive. Oh, we get 3 times the money for his death for Medicare, or Medicaid. There's a profit incentive, and these poor hospitals, of course, couldn't do elective work during the shutdown. So if they weren't getting more money because of the virus, then they were having hardships, and we're seeing doctors that were actually getting laid off. Doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. Now look at the statistics internationally. Look at Australia and New Zealand, for instance. They're a hell of a lot closer to China than we are. But they're saying per million people, maybe 7 or 8 people are dead. You come to America and it's like 400 deaths per million in population. Why is this big spread? Look at other countries. Why is there this big spread? Is it reporting? What is it? Are they being double counted? Is it because of the incentive situation? Who knows? But we're basing public policy on these type of factors, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then we look at the age of death. That's a whole nother issue. I had an aunt that just turned 100 years old, that her daughters could not come and celebrate with her reaching that milestone because she's in a nursing home. So we're prevented from visiting people in nursing homes for their protection. But then you have in some states, and again, I don't want to go politics, but each of these states that instituted a policy that put those people at greater risk of death. New York, California, Pennsylvania, a number of states did this, where they basically forced people who had a positive, maybe had the virus, to go from hospitals back to the nursing homes they were in. And thus, we had even higher deaths among the older population. And that's where this virus is most damaging, is the older people that have comorbidities, other issues going on. Again, we can question the policy, but when you start seeing things that don't make sense, use your own noggin and see if we can start making sense of those inconsistencies. It is a bit of a mess, and they're talking about shutting down California. They're not shutting it. They're talking about it. They're actually shutting it back down again. The restaurants got to hire people back, and now they have to lay them all right back off again. Unsustainable. They're trying, the political class are trying to do things that really put a hammer on normal people. And you can say, oh, they're trying to protect us from the virus, but ultimately, the cat's out of the bag. You're not going to put the virus back away. You're not going to get rid of it. It is part of us at this point. And many of us have already had it and survived it. Most of us will, other than people that are either older or people that have other health issues. And those people need to take steps to prevent the virus becoming a problem. But it is very, very questionable whether other people need to be responsible for those people through changing their behavior, especially in a way that doesn't necessarily help, like wearing a mask does not necessarily help. It's odd. I'll just simply say it's odd, on what we're supposed to be doing here. And it doesn't make any sense unless you put it into a political context. And if you do that, it really looks horrible that there are people in this country that really don't give a rat's ass about the vast majority of us. We are just sheep to be manipulated, to be pushed in one direction or another to suit their wills. Do we engage in war for the preservation of democracy and people's rights, or do we engage in war for others' economic interests? I'm a believer in this country and what we were founded for. God bless America. I appreciate the freedoms we have. But now we have, again, governor in California and other states shut down the beaches, shut down everything for 4th of July. Not even supposed to have parades. Not supposed to be at the beach, healthy beaches, social distanced, get in the water, sunlight, air. No. They want to shut everything down. And I do question for what reason. Who benefits? Who benefits from this stuff? Certainly the average person does not. Now, that's not what I wanted to be talking about. I wanted simply to get on camera and say, thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you, Mr. Mnuchin. Thank you for doing something to keep small businesses afloat. Because what you did was brilliant. And then also the extra checks that went to people. They needed the help. Some of these people did not need the help. And for them, it was extra, money that came in. which gets circulated back throughout the economy again, which makes it a healthier place, if you have a business. But my God, I do feel for those people that invested their life, their savings and their hard work into a restaurant or a gym or some other business, that these policies, these political policies, have attacked and challenged and put out of business. It's not right. Absolutely not right. And we should have choices, we talk about, well, we don't talk about it, but I hear a lot that, my body, my choice. My business, my choice. I suffer the consequences. Masks, my body, my choice. I suffer the consequences. Oh, but you might infect me. No, I won't. You cover your own face if you're concerned. Or, don't go out and stay home. But for the rest of us that are trying to lead a life, this is silly. Absolutely silly. And I'm in that age group that would be at risk. So if this old fart doesn't give a rat's butt about it, why should you, driving in your car all by yourself, wearing a stinking face mask? I hope you don't lose the oxygen and wind up crashing and hurting somebody else. But it's your car, it's your space, it's your body. Feel free. That's about all I've got to say. And again, it's not a product video. It's just, some old guy on a rant, wondering what the hell is going on in America. What the hell is going on? And we go fishing to get away from this stuff. We go fishing to get away from it. And private boaters, my God, they've been having a field day out here. The fishing's been great. And they haven't closed that down. They can close down the beaches, but they haven't closed down the boat ramps, thank God. We even had some of the, our big sport boats get out and go on fishing trips and practicing social distancing when they're on camera. Silly stuff. If you have another health-related issue, take care of yourself. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, so be it. But a stupid piece of cloth in front of your face doesn't do a damn thing. So don't kid yourself. If you're going to wear a mask, wear a good one. And wear the eye shield the whole 9 yards and come in here wearing a motorcycle helmet. But I might say, if you do come into my store and you are wearing shades and you are having a hat that's turned down over your eyes and you are wearing a mask, we're going to be watching you. We will be a little bit more suspicious. It's a learned response. And if you are driving down from LA like the guy with the LA tattoo on his neck that decided to do a grab and go here, you might get away with it. You might not. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Mark out.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Please visit us online or in store. Bye!
Your name should be Melody.